Okay, so my first game on my list is uh, Final Fantasy X. Now, I played this game when it originally came out. I can't remember the exact date, but back in the PlayStation 2 era. Like, it's a JRPG, with turn-based, a battle system, like how the old Final Fantasy was before they adopted their new system. And while the gameplay wasn't the most innovative, I think everything else that was surrounding it was just so much on point that it has made uh, a pretty lasting impact on me. The story was, uh, without going into like spoilers. I mean, it's one of the best stories I've ever come across. Uh, like it beats out a lot of TV shows and movies that I've seen. Um, like the pacing, the musical scores, uh, it all just it all just it brings the A game. This was one of the games that, like, this was the game for me that made me think, wow, video games are much more than just entertainment. They are legitimate art forms. Um, seeing seeing Titus, Yuna, you know, uh, all these characters kind of like work together, grow, and 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 as they're going through their journey to defeat sin, it's ah man, it's it's a story that sticks. As I don't know how else to butter that up. Um, like, I'll say like the musical score, is I still listen to some of those soundtracks from time to time when I'm at the gym or at or just driving a long drive. I'll turn on To Xanarkand or Otherworld on my Amazon playlist, or on YouTube, and just man, just relive those days again with that. It's
Huh, here you are.
and another thing with Final Fantasy X is, they didn't just make the story great, but they also kind of built a believable world. You know, uh, one with its own culture, its own religion, and its their own values. Different groups of sects. Uh, like the I can't remember the there's two different kind of people. Like the people who worship Yu Yevon, and the more Machina based folks. And
Some can't wait to die.
uh, yeah, Al Bhed, I think that's what they're called. And yeah, and it's like, then they have their own version of like American football with their blitzball, and it really, like, they really spent, or to me it seemed like they spared uh, no expense in really trying to craft this world, and really make it come to life, and not just have like the background just be something generic, a generic fantasy setting that is really like inconsequential in what you do. It really kind of feels like you kind of belong in that world, and it's actually real. The game as a whole is so outstanding that even if the gameplay isn't like the greatest or the most innovative, it's like everything else steps up so much that it elevates it to like the top tier video game. and one that has really left a huge impact on me, you know, and where I'd like to go with gaming. Okay, so for my second game, it's more of the series, but I'll start with the first one since that's where I started. Uh, Developed by Capcom, uh, Monster Hunter came out back in 2004, I believe, but I didn't play it until 2006. And it's one of those games where it's an action RPG, right? And where you are this hunter who goes on quests to essentially just slay giant monsters, dragons, wyverns, uh, and what else is kind of just threatening the land. Like the story isn't like much to write home about. You know, it's serviceable. You know, there's destruction coming from this large dragon, and you have to level up to defeat him. You know, something generic, but um, it really like the gameplay is what really like got me hooked. And then um, back in the early days of online play, you know, this was one of the few games that had that ability, you know, to play online. And I was fortunate enough to kind of be able to play online for a little bit and meet some cool people. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I kind of like this game too, because it gives you, because you can not only just play this by yourself solo, but you can also like join up and team up with new people and just kind of make new connections and network a little bit while fighting dragons, you know. You know, and one of the other things I want to mention is the musical score as well. You know, um, a lot of, not every monster, but certain monsters do have like their own theme music, and and some of the orchestral hits that this game has is man, sometimes it's you know it's on point. You know, same as Final Fantasy X. Like those orchestras, you know, like the musical scores that they do in the background, kind of only help to elevate, you know, some of the hunts you do, you know, hunting the monsters. Um, and again, just like with Final Fantasy X, like a lot of these I listen to on my free time, you know, when I'm at the gym or driving, like, because just some of them are just that good that I really love hearing them, you know. And while the story, you know, again is not like groundbreaking, I think some of the other aspects of the game kind of really help elevate it, you know. Okay, and last but not least, I'm gonna do a third game because it says I could do at least two, so I'll do three because I could not include Resident Evil Outbreak. Again, this is I'm a big fan of the Resident Evil series. You know, played the old PlayStation 1 and 2 games back in the old days, and they were fun, but I think this one is probably the most memorable because it had such a wide cast of characters. Um, Outbreak had two official games. Like it was like I guess truly groundbreaking, you know. And what this game showed me like what like games weren't just limited to just couch co-op and all that, and that was that was truly magnificent. Like you could really enjoy games with others from all over. Like this game came out. Let me see. Came out in 2003. So yeah, so it came out before Monster Hunter, and like I said, it was one of those games that on the PlayStation 2 that took advantage of like online play when online play wasn't really much of anything. And look at it nowadays. It's almost every game has some type of online play or online capacity. But I love the like replayability of it. That was one of the another thing of it too is uh, like the replay value was so awesome because every character had their own set of skills. Kevin was a police officer who had his own special 45 caliber gun. Alicia Ashcroft was a reporter who had a lockpick set who could unlock doors that most other characters couldn't. Each character had their own quirks and own abilities that made them unique, and so you could really have a team or do a challenge run where everybody's the same person. um, and it was and it was one of the things that this game had that a lot of games nowadays don't anymore, which is like unlockables. Um, I think there was like over 100 characters you could play as, and as you completed certain challenges, played with certain characters, did things in a certain way, you could unlock so many more people. Other You can unlock cameo characters from other games, or unlock other characters from the story that you couldn't typically play as. Um, yeah, there's so much unlockables, and a lot of files that kind of mention some of the stuff from like the main games, which was pretty cool to see how it tied into the whole Resident Evil uh, games.